Hi, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be giving you an update on how my ankle has been doing since I had massive surgery on it last year. So if you enjoy this type of content and other homeschool and lifestyle content, please remember to subscribe and let's get into it. All right, it has been a while. It's probably been since maybe October or November last year since I've given an update on my ankle. So if you are new here or don't remember, I'll give a quick background on it just so it kind of refreshes your memory. And maybe you can listen to this video while you're doing something because I'm just gonna be talking. It's, I don't know if that's exciting or not to listen to me talk. But so May 13th is a year since I had ankle reconstructive surgery. So when I was a teenager, I twisted my ankle very, very, very badly. My knee collapsed instead of my ankle rolling. And so then my ankle just went around basically in a circle. And so a couple years later, I re-injured it. And so at 17, I had surgery on my ankle. And at the time, I was 17, didn't really know what was expected of me and what I was supposed to do with this ankle. And, then I was married, I was a student, we went to graduate school, all these things where we had limited money anyways, so I just really wasn't thinking too much about my ankle. I think I did go to physical therapy for a little bit. I don't remember if it was for my ankle or my knee. And then when we moved to northern Utah, I did go to physical therapy for a little while, but there was never a recommendation to go see like a podiatrist or anything. But last year I was like, oh, I should really just go see the doctor. And we had already hit our out-of-pocket. I had already hit my out-of-pocket max since I had had a baby. And our insurance goes from like July to June or something. It's like an academic year instead of a calendar year. And so I decided to go in, have it checked out, knowing it was gonna be bad, and it was worse than bad. I have no cartilage in the front part of my ankle, and ligaments were not where they were supposed to be. Things were growing where they weren't supposed to be. Like, it was just a complete mess. So on May 13th, I had surgery. It was supposed to be a 2 to 3 hour surgery. It ended up being 4 hours. And there is still stuff in there, like there's still a bone spur that he didn't get to because the surgery was already just took so long. So I began all the recovery with that and stuff. It was very slow. I was non-weight bearing for weeks. As a mom, that was very, very hard. Last time I had surgery, I was a mom, right? I had a mom taking care of me, and I had very little responsibilities for the most part. I had to go around school on crutches, which was hard. But other than that, it was very limited. And so this time, trying to have all these household duties going on, and we ended up having a lot of traveling, not me, because I couldn't go anywhere, but my husband had a lot of things going on, family related, work related, church related, during that time. And so we slipped surgery into a window, and then he was gone a lot over the next 6 weeks and stuff. So it was a very, very challenging time. And then, once I started walking, I thought this is gonna be great. This is when everything's gonna take off and it's gonna be so much better. And cause that's how I remember it from my first surgery. And I was no longer 17 years old. And it was not a simple surgery, right? This was like a huge, massive surgery. They put in an anchor that goes from one side of my ankle to the other. They tightened up the ligaments. There's all these things, holding all that together. I don't know all the medical terminology, but it was a whole deal. They couldn't do anything with the cartilage because I had none. And so probably in 10 years, I will have to have a joint put in, like an artificial joint, like you'd have in a hip, but for an ankle, which I didn't know they do that. That's very cool. And it's not for me. I'm not excited that I have to do it, and so I have just no cartilage on the front part of my ankle at all. It is just bone grinding on bone, and there's nothing that can be done about it. My pain tolerance is pretty high, so most of the time I don't notice it. It's sometimes a little uncomfortable, but most of the time that's just the way it is. But when I started trying to walk again, it was so much harder than I thought it was gonna be. So much harder. It was so frustrating. And I don't know if I ever really expressed that in some of the videos I talked about my ankle in the fall when I give updates and stuff, but it was so hard. every time I go out and walk, I was constantly frustrated, constantly wanting to give up. And I'm just like, this is so dumb. Like, I was just so mad and frustrated at it all the time. And we were talking about, so at the same time, I had had plantar fasciitis going on my other foot. And it had been going on since before I even had surgery. And so he had been treating that with non-invasive, it's like I don't know if it's sonic is not the right word. I don't think, like, it's a wave type of treatment where he just kind of puts pulses into my foot to help break up the fascia in there. And he kept talking about cortisone shots, and I didn't want to do that. I just kept pushing it off. I was like, no. And so at the same time that's going on with my foot, we're also talking about what to do with my ankle. If maybe the anchor, since it goes on both sides, right? And then around like a band almost. He's like, sometimes it's just a little too tight and people can't handle it, like their bones just won't move the way they're supposed to. The x-ray looked okay. Like, it didn't seem like it was too tight, but the range of motion was still struggling. And so he's like, we could take it out. That would just be like you sitting here inpatient, outpatient. It'd be in his office. It wouldn't be putting me to sleep or anything like that, which again was like, just like make some incisions, and the recovery would be just basically for the incisions to heal super quick. So all that's happening, and he's like, there's the bone spur too. If you decided you wanted that off, we could just do surgery and get all that. And all this was going on. I was just like very overwhelmed, very stressed out, not wanting to do it, and also not feeling good about doing it. So I just kept pushing it off. And so finally at one of the appointments when my plantar fasciitis seemed to be starting to improve, I found shoes that were working well, all the things that were helping. And so he's like, just let me know like in a month if things aren't improving. If not, then I'll see you around a year from surgery. And so then gradually things started getting better. I remember getting on the treadmill at one point and just like, even at 3 speed, I was like, I can't walk this fast. Like, it was too fast. And it was so frustrating because I had been walking outside quite a bit, but it was starting to get colder. And walking outside, I'm just setting my own pace when I do that. And so getting on the treadmill was humbling and also so frustrating because I'm like, I can't even walk this fast. This is ridiculous. And then over time, it got better. Like, I would get on the treadmill and I would start being able to walk more. And I still am lacking a little bit of dorsiflexion and even plantar flexion. I noticed the dorsiflexion more, but it has been a slow, gradual process that has required consistent work. And it's been very frustrating. But even the doctor was like, a surgery like this usually takes 6 months to a year to really see like that you're almost back to normal. It's never gonna be normal, right? My ankle is 900 years old and stuff like that. So it's never gonna be normal, but it's getting there. And I feel like I can do things and not feel so frustrated about it. So I'm doing this video now because I did just go to that 1-year appointment. It's not quite been a year, but we have a lot of stuff going on, and me and my husband are going to Cabo in a few weeks. That's the first like couples trip we've taken in 6 years. And so I'm excited about it. It's kind of snuck up on us because of all of our Africa plans and stuff. So I'm like, all of a sudden, like, we're supposed to be going to Mexico in a few weeks. I should probably plan for that. If you have fun things you like to do in Cabo, let me know. Because I love outdoorsy, hiking, kayaking, that kind of stuff. That's what I like. And we'll be sitting by the pool and beach reading a lot of the time too. But we get to go, and I'm just very excited about it, even though it's kind of snuck up on me. But so I couldn't go into the doctor when I would have been like a year officially and stuff. So I did it a little bit early because I had, even though there's been some improvements, there had been a little bit of catching like on the inside, and I don't know if it's the bone spur or something else. And so for about a month, it would catch a little bit when I change movements. And then I made my appointment and it stopped. So that was nice. And so I don't know if I just increased motion and stuff, and so it got better and isn't catching whatever it was before. But the inside part of my ankle is where the struggle with the dorsiflexion is and stuff. It just kind of grabs there and won't like stretch further, which still could be because of the anchor, or it could be the bone spur, and it could just take time. You know, it's already improved so much in the last 6 months, but it's been very, very small improvements. And so I went to the doctor, but before that, I had started being able to walk around barefoot again and stuff. I don't walk without shoes very often anymore because I want to keep my plantar fasciitis under control, but which is rare for me. I rarely wore shoes before and now all I do is wear shoes. And so, but walking barefoot was hard because my ankle just didn't have motion. And so it was more a hobble. So when you put on a shoe, it adds just enough elevation that it makes walking easier and stuff. And so I would kind of like hobble a little bit along because my ankle didn't have the motion to do that. And now it's getting so much better. I'm like, oh, I can just get up and walk around. I don't have to constantly be slipping my shoes on. And so that's been really nice. And then if you follow me on Instagram, I posted pictures of our St. George trip. Like I didn't put pictures on here. I did talk about the trip on here, but because I was sick, we were all sick with the flu and stuff. And then, so we had to move the trip. But we went hiking on that trip, and that was the first like hard hikes I had done because of winter. We just hadn't been hiking. I had done some trail walking, like nature walking last fall, and it felt good, but it was also so frustrating because it was so hard to just walk on mostly flat ground, but you know, rocky kind of ground. And so going into these hikes, they were the first hikes I had done in a really long time, and it was awesome. It was so good. And it felt good to like do something hard again. And my ankle for the most part was fine. Like there was a few when I had to drop a little bit further off of a ledge or something because we were down in St. George in southern Utah, kind of on, it's like, what is it? Is it sandstone? So it has a lot of little ledges and everything, and it's really fun to climb. But coming back down was a little bit tricky, and I tried not to have to like put my foot down super far, but occasionally, because again, there's no cartilage, right? There's no cushion. And so when my foot goes down, that does hurt. But I did feel like my recovery was way better than it has been in the past. Because whenever I'd go hiking before I had surgery, my ankle would ache and hurt for so long. But I think now that it's tightened up and stuff's not moving around so much, because it was moving around a lot before surgery, then it's just been so much better. So all that's been really good. So I am very hopeful and happy with where we're at now. You know, yes, do I wish my ankle was perfect? Yes, for sure, but it's not. So when I went to the doctor, he was also very happy with where everything was going with the range of motion. He's like, this is all very good. It looks great. And I had him look at my other ankle just because I haven't ever had a serious injury on it, but I have rolled it pretty bad in the past. And every once in a while, even just a few weeks ago, it will just collapse. And either while I'm walking on flat ground, or if I hit something that's just like a little uneven, it might just like, and so then I go down and my other knee hits the ground and I end up with bruises, and it's not fun, obviously. And so I was like, can you just check it out and just make sure there's nothing going on? It would just give me peace of mind to know that because the other one I never checked out really. And so then it had way more problems than I thought it was going to. And so I'm like, I just want to make sure we're ahead of the other one. And so we did x-rays on it, and he said for the most part, things look good. You know, there's a few like bone spurs or a few like bone growths that show that there has been injuries, but nothing serious. And he said the cartilage, it looks a little less than normal, but it's measuring pretty good. He said I just might be prone to like more arthritis or something, you know, less cartilage or it just could be me getting older and stuff too. It doesn't have to be that I'm prone to arthritis. So he said that all in all, it looks pretty good. He did say the problem might be my shoes. I actually brought that up because I'm like, I wore my Hokas. I wear them a lot for walking, but the ones I have, they're the Bondi. I don't know if that's how you say it, Bondi, I don't know. But they're for severely pronated feet, and apparently mine are not. And so he's like, they're probably tipping your weight more than they're supposed to. So then when you just hit anything uneven or just are flat on flat ground, your body weight is shifted. And so then I just tip over. My ankle just collapses. And so he's like, keep doing, ankle strengthening exercises, get some different shoes. He had a list of ones which he gave me last year, but I didn't know that my feet weren't pronated, I don't know. But he had me stand up and he's like, everything is vertical. Like your feet when you're standing from the front and the back are vertical. So you just need a neutral shoe. And so that's what I'm gonna try. Keep strengthening stuff, but also have a neutral shoe so that my body weight isn't being tipped here and there. And he said, if you feel like you're doing something that might need some extra support, like wear your ankle brace, wear it on both ankles, like if you just feel like that. When we were hiking, I did use one of those trail buddy sticks, just one, I didn't use two. And I was packing my almost 30-pound toddler as well. And that was helpful. There was a few times, I felt like my balance kind of went, and having the extra stick, something to help keep me, my little tripod going on, keep me up was good. And so even that helped, I think, more with stability as well. So that's kind of where we are with all the ankle stuff. Things are going well. Everything is healed very well. And so as he was leaving, I was like, so should I schedule an appointment for 10 years? So it was just funny, because that's probably when I'll have to have an ankle joint replacement or whatever and stuff. So anyway, he just laughed at that. But the assistant was like, should we get that appointment scheduled? Again, as a joke. But I was like, that would be impressive if you had computers that would schedule an appointment out 10 years and still have it in 10 years. So anyway, that's where we are with ankle stuff. It's going well. I just thought I'd get on here and give you an update because I know not everybody cares, but I know some people might be wondering, and I haven't really talked about it much the last several months, but I feel like I'm in a much better spot now. There was a while about 6 months ago. There was a time about 6 months ago where I was emotionally struggling a lot, but I feel like lifting, walking, everything is slowly becoming easier, and I feel a lot stronger. And so that has helped me so much. All right, so that is an update on my ankle. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please remember to give me a thumbs up, and I will see you next time.